Hello and welcome back to Reeling in the Peers. My name is Gary O'Brien and this is the podcast where I get some of my very good friends on to chat about and discuss all kinds of movies. So joining me today, once again, it's Eoin Boyle, and he's here to talk about the latest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So stick around, we hope you enjoy. I'll fix that in post, fuck it.
I feel like that could be intro of if we can't make awkward conversation. Just like 3 minutes.
Talk about how I somehow caught the deadly virus that is not being able to speak from you, and it took me 9 goes to do that intro.
I feel like I spread it to everyone in Killarney after that 30 seconds game.
Yeah, I haven't been able to speak since, and I've also lost my sense of taste, so I'm a big fan of insert Eoin Boyle favourite thing here.
I wonder whose voice that's going to be in the edit.
Oh, hold on, yeah. Hello, mystery person. What's Owen's favourite thing that means he's lost his sense of taste?
Thanks for the question, Gary. You can tell that Owen's lost his sense of taste when he orders Bulmers straight away, rather than going up to the bartender and asking, what are the different ciders you have available before ordering Bulmers?
Thank you, mystery voice. Owen, you're back. Hello.
Hey, I'm back, and we are not roommates anymore.
No.
5 episodes was enough. Called it quits then.
Yeah, you moved to another county because of it.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
There was no job, no house. I'm actually recording from a cardboard box here. Great acoustics.
It's a very nice cardboard box, I'll say. Did you get that from IKEA?
I did actually.
Did you get the Gunderschlag? Is that the Gunderschlag box? That looks like a Gunderschlag box.
This is the Gunderschlag. I like the way it sleds down hills and keeps me warm at night.
There you go, job done.
In a tricky situation, I can also put it over my head and hide from security personnel.
Shang-Chi! Shang-Chi! But yeah, okay, yeah. Speaking of Shang-Chi, I suppose, segueing my own
beautiful segue.
You are not only here to talk about Shang-Chi, but you're here to talk about the first MCU movie being discussed on the podcast.
Woo! Is it actually the first?
Yeah, I was.
Are you sure Lawnmower Man wasn't one of the MCU movies?
No, that's one of the that's the PBU, the Pierce Brosnan universe.
Ah, okay. Easy to mix those up. They can both have the word universe in them.
Infinitely better than the other. One makes a lot less money than the other.
One has a lot more sex than the other.
I still think that's probably the MCU though.
Yes, I think Pierce Brosnan could keep up with the entire cast of the MCU.
I think he could. That's his superpower.
He fucks.
He fucks. But yes, so you're here. We're talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So you saw this and immediately was like, I'm doing this for the pod, Gary.
Yeah.
What made you so passionate to pick what I consider one of the best movies you've done for the podcast?
I find that insulting. I would give out to you if I could remember any. Yeah. Knives Out, exactly. Yeah. I knew I did an actual good movie.
Yeah.
Is it bad though? Like I immediately went to Big Trouble in Little China as my good movie though.
Oh yeah, because to compare against this one as well, it's quite interesting.
Who did it better? I really enjoyed this movie. This was my second movie I got to see in the cinemas after coming back. First being Suicide Squad. By the way, loved Suicide Squad. Thought it was a really fun movie to see in the cinema. But then I saw this then and I was just like, oh yeah, that's gonna be my podcast movie because I just had a great time watching it. And I think that's what you want from a movie, just to enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah, and especially like you said, when you're back in the cinemas and stuff like this. Like I know I kind of mentioned briefly before this that I've been to a few movies this year already, but like this is probably one of the better. Like, oh my god, you have to go see this in the cinema kind of movies. Like Suicide Squad's probably the other big one that comes to mind. And Fast and Furious 9, of course. Like,
I haven't seen it.
You don't fucking waste your time. But it's no, like this was like, oh my god, big action, big stunts.
Yeah.
And I guess what I thought was kind of interesting about this was, it's funny when someone asks me about the Suicide Squad. They would be like, oh, do you need to see any other ones? And I'm like, yes, no, and maybe. But for this, I kind of feel like, although it being the 25th Marvel movie, or like within the MCU, I wouldn't say you necessarily, besides like some cameos and stuff like that, I wouldn't say you necessarily have to have seen all 24 before I would say enjoy this.
All you need to have seen before this is that one Hulk movie from years ago, and
if even.
You need to get the Abomination reference, Gary. It's integral to the movie.
But he looks completely different to how he does in that movie. So unless you were a big super nerd like me and you wouldn't know it's the same character.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, so I definitely think it's if people haven't seen it yet, and you know weren't too sure about it, I'd say, Jesus, great cinema movie, and you don't need to see the other ones. But for people that might need a bit more convincing, what is this movie about?
So yeah, this is essentially Marvel's big action movie, big kung fu movie, and they nail it. There's definitely some like mysticism and superhero bits in it, but nothing too far-fetched until the very end of the movie, and then you wonder if you're actually watching a Marvel movie. It
Yeah,
the third act it's definitely different. But
I like it.
yeah,
Fuck that.
Gary's a fan. I thought it was spectacular. I just don't know how
Yeah.
it fitted with the rest of the movie. But
Yeah.
I think I'm in the minority for that opinion.
But yeah, and I guess like what's kind of interesting about it is like, yeah, like, you kind of mentioned that it's like their first like you know, dipping their toe into martial arts, but it still kind of follows that same superhero like origin story, because this is an origin story essentially for the character of Shang Chi, where you kind of see him, you know, he's a normal everyday lad, but it turns out he's got a secret backstory, and then you realize that his, you know, superpowers are beating the shit out of people, and he's very particularly quite good at that. And then his past comes back to haunt him, and then it's like him and his friend who doesn't have any superpowers then get thrown into this world of martial arts and mysticism, and it's
Excuse
all
you.
about them.
Aquafina's superpower is just being the Ryan Reynolds of this movie.
Yes, I agree. She is like, she's very much kind of put into this as the comedic,
Yeah.
like the comedy relief. But I will say, actually, I'll get into it a bit later. I think she's fantastic in it, and surprised me quite a lot in it, because I wasn't expecting her to be as good as she was in it.
She is definitely excellent in it. Like I think,
Yeah.
I think standouts. Sorry, I completely interrupted you as well. But like I think standouts from this movie are just the action and the cast. Like I think the
Yeah.
cast had absolutely fantastic chemistry, and you definitely believe a lot of their. Yeah.
Yeah, like even people like so obviously like Shang-Chi is like, you know, his dad's hunting him again, because his dad was this big you know, sort of gang leader and sent his son away, and then his son tried to escape and was trying to live a normal life, but now the dad's looking for him again, and it's all trying to, you know, achieve this sort of sinister goal. And the actor that plays his dad is phenomenal. Can't wait to talk about him either. But yeah, I guess the main point I'm just trying to make is that like it's such an interesting plot, in that it's kind of a usual superhero story, but it's done so well in the realm of martial arts and that sort of cinema making, that just makes it a very interesting movie.
Yeah. Oh, I'd agree. Like it is like. If you haven't seen this movie, I'd just say go see it, because it's just a good time. I don't think anyone is going to be disappointed, really.
Yeah. And what did you think of I guess because no one's ever portrayed Shang-Chi before, so this is the first introduction to kind of, I guess, the character of Shang-Chi, but also the actor Simu Liu. Like,
Yeah.
he hasn't been in a lot of stuff. So what was your kind of first impression of him?
He was charismatic, really charismatic. Like a fun character to watch on TV. Like I think he was really good in the role, because I think there is a lot of him in that character, which I think made it much easier to believe, because like just from after the movie and seeing him on Twitter and how he reacts to things, like using your own stock images to react to like criticism of the movie is a pretty
Yeah.
funny move, which I think he definitely took a lot of that into him playing the character, and
Yeah.
it definitely makes me believe the character a lot more and like the character a lot more. So yeah, I think he did a great job. Like as immediately just like, oh, this guy's funny, but then also like this guy's fit as fuck. 'Cause-
Yeah, well, like that's what I love about this guy, because like, he tweeted like back in 2018 or something to Marvel, being like, "Hey, make me Shang-Chi or something," and then they did, and then he like retweeted himself being like, "Thanks, Marvel," but like he was a stuntman, and that's what he was. I think he was in something called Kim's Convenience. I think it's some show.
yeah,
I've never
it's
seen
on
it.
Netflix. Yeah.
It's on Netflix, yeah, and he was known for that and some other roles. But I think he was mainly a stuntman, and whatever he did like to get this role, then I think he put on something like 4.5 kg of muscle. He worked out endlessly. He hadn't done martial arts before, and I think he kills it. And I
Jesus,
think
he's
just like,
I would never have believed he never did martial arts before.
yeah, I think he's done stunt work, but he never did actual martial arts before. And then I guess, yeah. So what did you think of the martial arts in this movie, without getting too, like, because you've watched obviously a lot of martial arts movies, and don't you dare quote Big Trouble in Little China to me as previous experience, but you've obviously watched a fair bit. Like, how do these kind of compare?
Oh, it's definitely up there for me. Like, I absolutely love it. It's actually great because this movie actually has a little Easter egg for like one of my favorite martial arts movies, which is I think Stephen Chow's Kung Fu Hustle. I think
yes,
Stephen
yes.
Chow's the director. But yeah, in when we're first introduced to Shang-Chi, in the room is a Kung Fu Hustle poster, and it's just like that is like my favorite martial arts movie. So
Yeah.
it was absolutely great to see. Even like a week before watching this, I watched what was that one? Something Dragon.
Enter the Dragon?
No, Hidden
Oh,
Dragon.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I just watched because Sinead had never seen it before and it was on Netflix, so
Oh,
we
right.
watched that, and it's just a really
Yeah.
fun action movie as well. So
And like, what's great is there's kind of shades of a load of different of those types of movies in this. Like, I think that
100%, yeah.
scene that with Wenwu and his wife that I can't remember the name of, like their scene, their
Yeah.
first fight, is very similar to some of the stuff in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, another fight scene in a movie that we've covered, so we'll maybe get into that a bit more in the spoilers. 'Cause I can't wait to make that comparison.
Yeah.
And then even some like the bus scene. There's some Jackie Chan movie with a bus scene fight. As
Yeah,
well,
honestly,
and
I never thought about that. But yeah, like you get a lot of like the different styles of like kung fu movie where you do get like the Jackie Chan style movie from like the claustrophobic fights and using your environment to your advantage, and you also get like the cable work from like
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the more exaggerated moves.
And like that's why I kind of want to, well, maybe save it for the spoilers, which is why I think the third act kind of works. But we'll talk about it later. And then just another thing I want to talk about as well, which was just two main things I suppose for the spoilers. One was just being like, my entire sense of watching this was just like, Marvel made this? Because this is unlike anything they've made before.
Oh yeah, like I think the closest they've ever gotten to a movie like this is Winter Soldier with the fight choreography, where
Oh, yeah.
it was like you're watching it and you're just like, this is a Marvel movie, and it doesn't seem like one because that was such a spy flick, and that was such
Yeah.
like a sort of like a, it was like an action movie, but it was also just like a spy movie, and there wasn't much like supernatural in it. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I think it's probably the closest comparison to this movie, because like, yeah, it's set in the Marvel universe, but it's like it's more of a kung fu movie than it is a superhero
Yeah.
movie. And I think that's like I think Marvel do some of the best things when they're not trying to be a superhero movie.
Yeah, and I agree, but I would kind of actually use a movie that came out the same year as Winter Soldier, which would be Guardians. For me, Guardians, I remember just loving that and being like, this is like nothing else. And I think Shang-Chi, so I won't disagree with you, but I'll phrase my statement a different way, which is it's the most Marvel have strayed outside the box since 2014.
Oh yeah, I'd agree with that.
I feel like everything's been quite samey. Not in a bad. It's been very like MCU-y. That's not a word, but like I felt like this really was just like, in terms of like, and I mean everything. I mean the action, the costume, the music, some of the cinematography stuff. Is just I don't know how they did this. If I'm honest, like,
Who actually directed this movie? Yeah.
oh, it's a guy with a name.
Thank God.
Hold on, I have it here somewhere. Yeah, so it's sorry, I have it here. It's Destin Daniel Cretton. Who wouldn't know him for a lot. I'd seen one of his movies last year, called Just Mercy. Had you seen it? It's with Michael B. Jordan.
No, I haven't seen
Fuck
it.
me, that's a great movie. Really, really good. But I think it was like, it's very Oscar-esque, but
Yeah.
very, very, very good. And he'd also done something called The Glass Castle with Brie Larson in it, and he'd done another movie with Brie Larson as well. So I don't know if like she was the connection for getting him into this, but
Yeah.
what I kind of find interesting, like with a lot of who was it? There was some director who came out and said, I'm not working with Marvel, because pretty much on the first day I sat down with them, they were like, okay, so you just need to do this stuff and we're going to handle everything else. And it's very much like they kind of do a lot of the stuff for you.
Was that Edgar
So
Wright?
I don't know if, it might have been Edgar Wright, yeah.
Yeah, Edgar Wright for Ant-Man, because I remember he just comes to mind as a director that left a Marvel property.
It was either him or was it someone for Thor: The Dark World? I can't. Anyway, I just know that's an issue. Oh no, or was it Captain Marvel? There was some issues people were having where Marvel just kind of takes over, and I feel like they might have done it with this a bit. I don't know, because I don't know what the rest of his work looked like, but he'd never done a kung fu movie before, so I'm gonna say the other people handled that, and he did maybe more of the dramatic stuff.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assumption. And well, again, this is another like example of Marvel like picking a director who's not really well known and then them making one of their best movies. Like,
Yeah,
if we're talking about
absolutely.
like Thor Ragnarok, like Taika Waititi just like revived that series.
James Gunn for Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy.
yeah, he did like what
Previously best known for Scooby Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what he goes on to do now from this, because he should do more action movies like this, because
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
one other thing I want to just mention before, that's just a very important point about this movie that distinguishes it from other Marvel movies, is the villain. Because he's actually very good.
He's a sympathetic villain, not like Thanos, who was just like, oh, wipe out half the universe, because...
But he's got a point, though.
This is just... this is a very sympathetic villain, and he's excellently acted and portrayed by famous Hong Kong actor...
Tony Leung.
Tony Leung, yes, thank you for saving me. But... Yeah, like he's absolutely he. I think I heard a description of him where he's so good at acting with his eyes. And I read that. Oh
my god! Yeah, that's a good point.
It's only after watching the movie and I read that line, I was like, yeah, Jesus Christ! So many of his like scenes were just looking at the camera, and he was so good.
Yeah. And then just so we mention them in the spoiler-free section as well. The actress who plays Zai Ling, Shang Chi's sister, very good. She doesn't have really... She's kind of maybe in Shang-Chi's shadow a bit in this movie, but there's kind of hints that she might have a bit more to do in the future.
Right, it's on a TV show in the future.
Spoilers. But it's like... Yeah, and I guess this is one of the Marvel movies where I'm like, I have no idea where it's going, but I'm very interested to see how this universe kind of takes off, or how the people in this like integrate with the universe.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't be alone saying that. We were a bit like sick of superhero movies and Marvel after like the whole Infinity War saga. And I know I was like, I suppose speaking for myself, I knew I was very like worn out from superhero movies, and I wasn't very excited. Like even for the Disney shows, like I think it was only at the finale of Loki that I was getting a bit excited again for what they were doing, and then this has roped me back in, sadly.
Because you haven't seen Black Widow yet, have you?
No, actually, I haven't seen Black Widow yet. But
just that. Trust me, that's gonna be the opposite of this. Just like it's a prequel, and you know what happens to the character, and it's never mentioned in the movie, so why care?
I couldn't imagine that being a movie that was just like getting me excited again.
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't get you excited for the future at all. Whereas this does, in my opinion. Right, should we get into spoilers, or is there anything else you want to throw in to kind of talk about the movie and
not without being a filthy spoiler whore?
That's fair. Okay, well now we're getting ready for a segment I like to call Spooky Scary Spoilers.
Spooky Scary Spoiler in the distance.
I think I might just put in like a scream, like a ah! I might think of something. Right. What to talk about first, though? What to talk about first?
I think the fight scenes maybe is probably like a great place to start. Like if we go through like, Jesus, they were so good. And I think the boss fight scene in the first act, absolutely incredible. It goes on way longer than you think it would as well.
And that's what I find interesting, because the trailer for this kind of made it look a bit shit. The boss thing, it made it look very average. But when it's allowed breathe in the movie, I know this sounds stupid because the trailers are meant to be shorter, but like, it looked very two-dimensional. I guess the trailer made the fight look to be like actually compared to another bus fight scene or tram fight scene. Like, you remember the Captain Marvel bus one?
Yes. That was very forgettable.
That's what I mean. Where you compare it to this, and we knew these scenes were happening from the trailers, but like one just completely goes up another notch. This was I'm gonna get this wrong, but like, is it the best action introduction to a character's powers? In Marvel, just off the top of my head, I'm trying to think.
I can't imagine there's anything better. Like Thor's
flapping about with his hammer, killing ice giants. Captain America's running in his bare feet down a street.
Iron Man's pretty good. Iron Man, like the whole escape from the cave.
Oh,
if you count that.
I just have to take Iron Man. That's on a different level. You have to just take that out straight away.
I'd say Iron Man's introduction to his powers is probably like, because that has so much build up to like such a satisfying escape. So that'll probably be up there for me.
But yeah, I just the bus. Because it comes out of nowhere. Because it's just him and Aquafina on a bus, and all of a sudden someone comes looking for a pendant that his mom gave him at birth, and we don't know, because it's great, because we don't really know if he has superpowers yet, I guess, because I didn't look too much at the trailer, so we're like, does he know how to fight yet? Does he have to be trained? What's the crack? And he just kicks the fucking shit out of all of these lads.
I know. It was great to watch. Like, it was so satisfying. Even like, what do they call the guy? Razor Fist, like when he got up.
Yeah.
Although, I really wish...
He intrigued me, because for anyone that hasn't seen it, so like from his elbow down has been amputated or something. Hasn't it?
Yeah.
I know in the comics he has two. It's not just one. But it's like, so... But instead of like his lower arm, it's just like a weird metal plate. And then from the metal plate comes a big like red hot sword. that chops through everything.
Yeah.
But I ask you, Ono Boyle, man of science, where does that sword go when it's not out?
It's definitely into the rest of his arm.
That's just uncomfortable. You'd never retract it.
Yeah, you better hope that the heating setting never gets stuck on as well. Like, if any technical faults with that must be painful.
There's one thing leaving on the immersion, but there's another leaving your razor fist on.
Like, I tell you, like, you know, like how any piece of like highly scientific equipment like needs like just like it needs mechanical checks like every like week essentially, if it how as high tech it gets. And it's just like, imagine this guy, like he has just like a weekly appointment with this guy in a shed. It's just like, so how's it looking? And it's just like, it's off by a few degrees.
But like, it's funny because it's obviously not that important, because at one point he's able to swap it out for something else. Yeah. So clearly it's like,
also like when he does that, it's just like, does that also go up into his arm?
Oh god, yeah. Anyway, yeah, because it must go out. Anyway, not getting too honed in on Razor Fist here.
Oh, Razor Fist was a good character. Even though I really wanted him to interact with Rocket Raccoon because of the whole, you know, like Taserface incident from Guardians 2.
Oh, that's very good, yeah. Oh, they'll never do that, but it'd be so good if they did.
It would be very funny.
And actually just kind of, you know, maybe we can come back to the action in a sec, because I just want to talk about Awkwafina, because before this, it's just them, Awkwafina, whose character, Katie, I should refer to her as, and Shang Chi are both valets, and they're kind of going nowhere with their lives, and Katie's mom and granny are always on their case, and it's like, what's the deal with the future and stuff. And I guess with Awkwafina's character, I was just very worried we were going to get someone like Darcy for Thor: The Dark World, where it's just joke and joke and joke and joke and joke. But her humor is, she's not there to tell jokes. She's actually just there to be funny, but also it has quite a lot of heart in the movie as well, which I thought was very refreshing for the MCU formula, because it's like, no, you need to have a sidekick who is not powered, that just makes the jokes.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, she was great in this movie. Like, she was just there to like be herself, and like I think herself in these movies was just like, I'm gonna make jokes when I'm feeling awkward, or like I'm gonna point out how ridiculous something is in an equally ridiculous manner, and things like that. But like, it works for the character because she does care, and I think she does a great job portraying how much she does care about Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Do you reckon they're a couple? Do you reckon her and Shang-Chi are a couple? Or are they just good friends?
I think by the end of it, I was getting the hints that they were a couple, because I wouldn't have thought that other than the dinner table chat at the start of the movie, where it was just like, when will you two get married? And just like, we're just friends. But then like at the end of the movie, like she's like resting on his arm, which I suppose friends can do, but I feel like there was an indication that they would be a couple. Yeah,
I just thought it was interesting. What do you think of the karaoke gag? Not to kind of hop around too much.
It's definitely up there for like one of my best running gags in a MCU movie, because I just didn't expect it at the end. I wasn't expecting it to be a running gag, but then it just came along.
I expected. So I was like, I saw it the first time when she said it. So basically, Katie comes out and says, "Oh, when someone was bullying her in school, and she just ran in front of them and started singing." Oh, someone was bullying Shang-Chi, and she ran in front and started singing Hotel California, and she goes, "Oh, dumb people get distracted easily," or something. So I was like, she's going to do that. I was like, she'll do that in the big fight or something. And then there was that scene in the Fight Club, and I was like, oh, betcha she'll do it. And she did it.
Yeah.
I've never felt smarter in my entire life, oh no boy. I've never
Gary
felt
O'Brien,
like I am
chemistry degree.
Movies. Yeah, this is the moment my parents should be proud of. But then I was thinking in my head, it's a comedy rule of 3. There has to be something. And then when I saw the final act, I was like, there's no way she's doing it. You can't do it in this battle scene whatsoever. So for them to bring it back at the end, which we'll talk about the post-credit scenes at the end, but I was just very happy with it. And I thought that was a great... The reason why I bring it up as well is because it just showed how close friends they are, because they go karaoke in together and they sing, and they just get drunk together when they know they shouldn't, and it's just I think it was seem like great friends.
Fantastic way to end the movie as well, because like it sort of ends on this really like mysterious note of just like dun dun dun, what's up next for the Marvel universe, but then it immediately goes, we think, oh, I hope they don't get too serious now, because it did seem to be going that way at the end of the movie. And then it immediately goes into that karaoke bit. I'm just like, perfect way to end it. Like, I think that it had the lighthearted ending that the movie needed. Bringing in the other guy from Doctor Strange really well. Wong, bringing in Wong really well.
Well, he was the only one where I would have been like, you would be very confused about him in this movie if you hadn't seen the others, but it'd be grand. Speaking of other characters, let's keep going. Zhai Ling, Shang-Chi's sister. What did you think of her character?
Yeah, a bit of a badass. Definitely just like she does well. Like she plays the sort of harsher person in general. Like, no jokes, sort of just very serious all the time. Equally badass. And yeah, it works. I suppose you need that sort of balance. You can't have everyone being a comic relief character as Marvel loves doing.
Yeah, and like it was, I guess, for anyone that might not have seen it, so her character, like I said, Shang-Chi kind of escapes his dad, I guess, and leaves his sister behind. And her sister wasn't allowed to do any of the training that Shang-Chi did as a kid. And I guess she grows to resent that, but also her father and also Shang-Chi for leaving her. So she sets up this kind of underground but also above ground because it's in a tall tower fighting arena and she's great. I love her, and I thought she, like you said, badass character, takes no shit, and it's great because technically Shang-Chi was more trained than she was, but yet she seems more equipped for this world than he does because he obviously left for a couple of years.
Yeah, and she's cutthroat, like she is brutal.
Yeah. She like just leaves him to die, like on multiple occasions. Like her dad runs the Ten Rings, which is a crime organization. And
small detail.
Oh, we have to talk about the Ten Rings as well. I can't wait. And but
best character.
But it's like the Ten Rings, each of them. Sleepy, Grumpy, all of them. I love them. Doc.
Doc was great. I love that bit when he brought Sleepy back to life. Like,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on Bashful. And don't please stop this guy because I don't know any more of the names.
I don't know. I feel like we need like 3 more adult rings because we wouldn't have that. So like I imagine another ring's like horny, and one ring is
oh wow, fighty, fisty.
Fisty. No, him and horny get along really well.
So cute. But yeah, so the Ten Rings come looking for Shang-Chi and his sister because they both have this pendant that his dad needs, and she just like is able to fight them all off, and like when she's escaping, she just leaves Shang-Chi. She's like, bye, fuck off, you can handle yourself. But she does show she cares for him, which I think is kind of important to her character, to have a bit of heart, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
She's badass. I love that knife dagger on a sword, on a rope thing.
Yeah,
it's
that was
such
great.
a cool weapon.
Yeah, it's a very cool weapon. It was great to see.
But it's like, what I enjoyed about it was, we haven't seen it, like I said, I haven't seen it in the MCU yet. No other like I've seen batons, I've seen shields, I've seen hammers, I've seen I've seen bows and arrows. Like we've seen no one use like martial arts.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really cool weapon. Like even like I thought like Shang-Chi would be like very like fisticuffs the whole time, but like even in the last act then like he does get like the spear and everything like that. He's badass with the spear too, and it's great to see. Oh, actually, then just like you speaking of like sorry, I'm gonna go back to the fight scenes because obviously I have a one-track mind. But and then in the second act, obviously the fight scene is in that sort of above ground club that the sister runs, and there's a really good like one-on-one fight between what's his name, Death.
Death Dealer.
Death Dealer, that's it. I was thinking Death Eater, but that's definitely Harry Potter.
It's a crossover.
Yeah. What's his Horcrux? Not a Horcrux. Fuck.
Shang-Chi's. Like Patronus.
Yeah, Patronus. That's what I meant to say.
It's a nice BMW. Because there's a load of BMWs in this fucking
great
movie.
Sponsors of this movie.
There's a load of them, isn't there?
Yeah, there was a lot.
But yeah, like so the Death Dealer.
Yeah. He didn't do much. Like he was in one really good choreographed fight with Shang-Chi.
Oh, you mean what they stole from James Bond, the Skyfall scene?
I would have said
Skyfall.
Was it Skyfall? I thought it was
Skyfall.
I was remembering the fight scene from. I'm not talking about like when the fighting on the rafters or on the construction things. Even though isn't that originally from
Rush Hour?
Yeah, Rush Hour, I was going to say.
Yeah. So, there's a fight where they're on, like, scaffolding made out of bamboo, which is very similar to Rush Hour.
Yeah.
But there's a bit inside, they're fighting inside the building, and, like, you see the silhouettes behind the billboards, the light billboards in the back.
Yeah, okay.
Which is very similar to Skyfall.
Yeah.
I just want to get my James Bond fact in there.
Then there was that knife play that I thought was very similar to Winter Soldier. Yeah. So what did this movie actually do? Copy other good martial arts movies.
That's how you do
it.
Yeah. But yeah, that character was really interesting because it like pretty much was Shang-Chi's trainer from a young age and his tormentor, or dementor. If you want to keep the Harry Potter trend going. So to see them go one-on-one, and there's just this build-up of like, well, and Shang-Chi was ready to kill him, and you're like, holy shit, like what the fuck did this guy do? But and then we don't
you just remind me of
face.
You just reminded me of a twist that I actually really loved.
Oh, go for it.
Do you know the twist just at the end of the movie when he was just like, because basically I think we haven't said it well, the way Shang-Chi, he ran away because he was sent on an assassination mission to kill the person who killed his mother.
Yeah.
And when he's telling Kate, is it about it? Katie?
Katie. Yeah.
When he's telling Katie about it, he's just like, "No, I didn't kill him. I didn't kill him." But then at the end of the movie, like he says, "Oh, I did kill him," and I was just like, "Holy fuck! I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that twist. That's a great twist."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd, like, but it's just so there's such depth to this character, and I think
Yeah.
one of the things this movie did very well was do a lot of flashbacks well to
Yeah.
kind of like kind of nearly bring us from Katie's point of view to kind of understand more as the movie goes on the depth to Shang-Chi and his like tormented past, which also being, you know, the Death Dealer in there as well, who just gets killed very unceremoniously at the end.
How
without
dare
any
you?
Sort of payoff.
He explains what the monsters do at the end of this movie.
Did he?
Well, he explains how they kill him by dying to them.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
he is a death exposition in the
Yeah,
sense
pretty
that
much. Yeah, death's position.
death position.
Position
that,
sounds
that kind of annoyed me. I would have liked. I did like that it was a twist because Iron Fist was like, not Iron Fist, sorry, who I actually do want to talk about. Razor Fist was kind of like, oh, we're not working with you. Why would we work with you? Fuck you. And then all of a sudden you're expecting one of those fly soul sucking things, which we'll get to, pick him up and take his soul, but he actually takes Death Dealer's soul from behind him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a twist, but in the sense I was just like, oh, I wonder, that character seems kind of cool, and I wouldn't mind actually seeing like Shang-Chi kind of face him.
I think he was the Boba Fett of this movie.
He is the Boba Fett of this movie.
Yeah, just
That's
like
a good point.
I just talking about it, just like he looked cool and he had some cool moments, and then he died very unceremoniously. So
That is true. Yeah.
can't wait to buy action figures of him in 10 to 12 years, and there's a cult following.
He's a cool character though. I did like it. See, I won't get too far ahead actually with who I thought it was, but speaking of Iron Fist, who I said by mistake, did you ever watch the Iron Fist series?
No, I've heard a good bit about it. I heard like the first season was terrible,
Yes.
mostly because the actor refused to learn martial arts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was just bad, and he's hyped up as the best martial artist in the entire like MCU universe, the MCU and stuff, and he's not very good in the show. But second season, I think there's a third season. I can't remember. It's quite good actually, but it's funny because there's mentions of Tallow and there's mentions of the big Great Protector in that as well. And I was trying to see if there was going to be any similarities, and of course there wasn't because the Netflix series don't exist according to Kevin Feige.
Does Iron Fist actually touch on Tallow? Is like his backstory linked to Tallow as well?
I think that's where he learns, or that's where he gets his powers. I think.
Okay.
Or maybe I've confused it. Maybe it's another mystical place that only appears at a certain time,
Okay.
and I assume it's the two. They're the two of them. Are
That
the
would make
same.
sense, yeah.
Speaking of mystical places that only appear at the same time, so eventually we find out where the Mandarin or Wenwu is Wenwu being Shang-Chi's dad is trying to get to this Tallow place because he believes his wife is there. His wife had been killed by thugs. Let's talk about Wenwu because Wenwu is a very interesting character.
He's a very big character in the movie, definitely. Like he is essentially like an ancient, like very very like I think like ancient Chinese lord who finds the Ten Rings. Ten Rings being like these ancient artifacts that are like older than what can be perceived or measured even, that give him like immortality and like immense power. And so he then runs the Ten Rings as an organization that like sort of is like rules the world from the shadows. Until he meets a lovely lady behind screen number 1.
I don't have her name. I'm very bad at this. Oh, is it Ying Li? Yeah, Ying Li. That's her name.
Let's go with it.
So
Yeah.
she's the protector or the guardian of Tallow, and he's trying to use these 10 rings to conquer everything, and it shows him, which I thought was kind of cool. They show him throughout time conquering and influencing different sort of
politics
global events,
yeah.
and then he meets her, and they have like a dance fight, and all I could goddamn thinking about was Bahubali.
Yeah,
it's the same principle.
I did think of it. Like he did like take the badass warrior woman and domesticate her.
Yep, but it also domesticates Wenwu as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Also
Yeah,
puts away the 10 rings.
It was not near as sexist.
No, God, no, much better. Yeah. But it was a cool fight. That was an unreal fight.
Oh yeah, it was really
very,
like that. It was very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons. I think that's probably the fight of the most. It's like it's a fight that was most reminiscent of it.
Yeah. And what did you think of the actual 10, because we haven't even mentioned them, even though they named the part of the fucking movie. The 10 rings. What did you? I know we mentioned them in a jokey way, but what did you think of the actual the look, the power?
They were cool. I think really underwhelming, and like didn't really do much for a lot of the movie, which is probably fine until the last act, wherein Shang Chi gets his hands on him, and then they become way cooler.
Sonic the Hedgehog powers, as I call them.
100%. Yeah. Like
they were. Because when you compare what they were in the comics, they were like literally 10 rings that you wore on your fingers, and they had different powers like freeze ray and flame throw or whatever the fuck. But they reimagined them for this in what I consider, I don't know, I just think it's one of the best reimaginings of a superpower or an object from comic to movie. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, like it was unreal. Like it was just so cool. Like seeing, like again, like I feel like when we, like he just used them as like blasts and like jump. I jump far essentially like that. But then it's only like in the final fight scene when Shang-Chi gets a hold of him that like he gets really creative with how he uses them, and I think I like completely changed my mind on him. Like they were unreal in that time, and like just in the final arc.
And I guess just other things I kind of wanted to mention about Tony Leung, who played Wenwu, is that his character is supposed to be called Fu Manchu. And if you ever look at Fu Manchu on Google Images, it's very problematic. And it led Marvel to be like, let's just make a new character and call him something else. And they gave Tony Leung kind of free reign to come up and think of his own interpretation in a way. And I think that's why he's so sympathetic, because also he's never played a bad guy in movies before. This is his first bad guy, but like you say, he's very sympathetic. It's the equivalent of imagine, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of someone like someone like Brad Pitt. I don't know, someone like that who he's very big in China and doesn't play bad guys.
Tom Hanks.
Perfect. But so his character was just so interesting because you like you said earlier, you understand where he's coming from, and I think a lot of it is down to Tony Leung for like imagining the character this way, by just Marvel also saying just ignore everything from the comics, doesn't matter if you've read them, just come up with your own kind of interpretation.
Yeah, he did a great job. Like they even make fun of that a bit in the movie when they're just like, oh yeah, they used to call me a mandarin, which is just like a fucking food dish and things like that.
He goes, America was afraid of an orange.
Yeah, and it was just like, it's fun like references that they made. Even though like, speaking of the Mandarin, did not expect to see that character come back.
Oh my god, it was the best. So, I didn't know he was in this.
Neither did I. I had no idea.
Nolan will attest that I jumped out of my seat nearly when I saw he was in this.
Yeah.
Because we disagree, but I think Iron Man 3 is a great movie. And one of my favourite parts of Iron Man 3 is none other than Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery, who is pretending to be the Mandarin. We won't get into the plot of Iron Man 3, but let's just say it did not go down well with a lot of people, so it's kind of somewhat retconned in this movie. But apparently, Ben Kingsley was doing interviews for this. He was at the premiere. Like, it was very publicised that he was in this, and I completely missed it.
I had no idea he was in this movie whatsoever.
So when he showed up, and both was, in it for such a long time. Yeah. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, it was a good half of the movie. Yeah.
And he became that comic relief character that I thought Awkwafina would be. And it's like him and Awkwafina literally switch points where she actually becomes a character with such a strong purpose, and he's just there for the laughs.
Yeah. Oh, he was so funny. I just loved the fucking bit when they're waiting for the forest to open up and he's just talking about Planet of the Apes.
Oh my god. Best joke of the movie.
It was like in tears laughing, I think, just like, because he just delivered it fucking perfectly, and it's such an absurd joke. She's like,
the monkeys, yeah.
I couldn't believe they got the monkeys to act.
I can't believe they got the monkeys to do all the horse riding on the monkeys. So I do one Liverpool accent, and it's a very piss poor John Lennon. Yeah. But speaking of Planet of the Apes, and how that was Trevor Slattery's inspiration to become an actor and then become a terrorist of sorts. He there's a Planet of the Apes vague connection in this movie because Eli Roth comes back to play the Abomination, and we see a fight scene between the Abomination and Benedict Wong in this underground above ground fighting arena. Yeah. And like you said, the characters change because the reason he has fins is because he had fins in the comics, so they were trying to make him more comics accurate. But Eli Roth actually did the motion capture for this, or he did the voicing and stuff like that, so he is actually credited in the movie. Oh. But Eli Roth was also in the 2001 version of Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg.
That's funny connection. Isn't that? Yeah. I feel like you feel like they wrote that bit into because they were just all like actors around the table talking, and Planet of the Apes came up. Ben Kingsley was like, I was a big fan of that movie.
It's such a well delivered joke.
Yeah, I think like as well. I think the movie takes a turn when he's been introduced as well, because like the mythical creature comes out. Maurice comes out, and I
dog
think
with no face.
Yeah, and I had the like furry pig. Is that what it's described as?
Yeah.
But like I had the same reaction as I think like the actors in the movie. I was just like, what the fuck? I didn't think this was this kind of movie.
And like again, I'm just gonna keep shouting on about it. It's unlike anything we've seen in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think that's personified a lot when we get into Tallow and its full Pokemon adventures as these weird fucking animals show up from everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think that like the third act of the movie, I was just like, this does not feel like a Marvel movie whatsoever. Like it was completely different. Like I did really enjoy it, and because the spectacle was fantastic. Like
and I don't know what time we're at, but I want to leave some time for that third act.
Yeah.
If there's anything else I want to quickly talk about, the score.
Score was good, yeah.
Just the music, the soundtrack to this is incredible. Like it's on par with like Black Panther with some of the tunes in this. I thought it was like, I'm just like, what is it doing in a Marvel movie? I don't think Marvel made this. I think it's a scam. I think it's all a conspiracy. Yeah. Marvel didn't make this movie.
I would believe it.
Oh, but before actually, two quick things on Trevor Slattery and that. One which was when we first see him, he comes in and he starts saying "Nunkle Nunkle," which is a line from King Lear, and in Iron Man 3. Aldrich Killian had said something where like, oh, his Lear was the toast of Croydon. So clearly, like, it's the one good thing he's at. Because yeah, the point of that character is do you ever watch that one shot, All Hail the King?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, do you know what it is?
Is it like some Ten Rings thing?
Oh yeah, so it's like a documentary. It's like The Office, but it's all about Trevor Slattery in prison now. It's like on one of the DVD
that looks
extras.
really familiar.
It's really good.
Is he broken out of prison at the end of it as well?
Yes. So it's all like documentary style, and Sam Rockwell shows up as Justin Hammer and everything like that. It's really, really good. It's on Disney Plus, would highly recommend. Okay. But at the end of that, he's captured by the real Ten Rings, and they say, oh, the real Mandarin wants to see you. And we never knew what was going to happen, but it was this. So he gets captured by the Ten Rings, and then apparently he was just such a jokester, such a jester. They kept him around, and I'm very glad they did. And then he obviously befriends this little weird monster called Maurice, who was part of that magical place where Shang Chi's mother is from. And him and Maurice have this little connection. But another connection is that the actor that does the voice for Maurice, so the weird like squeaks, is an actor called D. Bradley Baker. And it's the second 2021 comic book movie that this person has been in. Previously voicing Sebastian the Rat in the Suicide Squad.
That's hilarious. Okay.
So just speak...
Yeah, that's really funny. I really like as well. The Rat was like easily one of the best characters in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but that's why I just thought it's interesting. This person's great. We don't know their name.
Actually, you just reminded me of another connection as well.
Oh, go for it.
Because I know not really connection, but we know how that fight was very like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But obviously, then turns out the sister of the sister of the woman in that fight. I can't remember.
Ying Li.
Yeah, Ying Li's sister. She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh, yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone has listened to the Murder on the Orient Express podcast, you'll know I've introduced a new segment, and I would like to I'd like to bring that segment right back now, and it's called Gary Fact. So, Michelle Yeoh, she's not only in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's also in another movie from 1990. Oh no, I'm going to get it wrong. 1997, I'm going to say. Starring one Pierce Brendan Brosnan from Navan. Called Tomorrow Never Dies.
There we go.
But she is not the only Bond girl in this movie. For there is another. And between the two of them, they've starred in 3 James Bond movies. So, the other actress, and I'm going to get the name wrong, I'm very sorry, is Shai Chin. And she plays Waipo, who is the aunt or the grandmother of Awkwafina's character, Katie.
Oh, okay.
So she played, and I'm looking at Owen, and he gives 0 shits, but I don't care. Because I find it interesting.
I'm just going through the Train Fact song in my head. Like, I hear Thomas the Tank Engine.
So she played one of the girls in You Only Live Twice from 1967 with Sean Connery, but she was also in Casino Royale 2006 with Daniel Craig. She was one of the poker players. So she was an actress who's actually been in 2 James Bond movies practically 40 years apart, which I think is cool. So there's
that
2
is pretty
James.
cool. Like,
there's a good Gary fact for you there. So that's what I did.
We're this close from James Bond, be it like Pierce Brosnan, be it in an MCU movie.
Oh, it's going to be in it. Oh, he's been in the. He's in
DC, yeah. But, like, he needs to stretch his wings into Marvel.
Exactly. So just another fact attack while I'm here. That in the Fight Club scenes, you can see on one of the lower decks that there's a fight happening between one of the Black Widows, who we see in Black Widow, and one of the extremist people from Iron Man 3.
Oh, I see. I recognize the one from Iron Man 3, but I haven't seen Black Widow, so...
I didn't recognize them. That's what IMDb told me.
Okay.
But yeah, right. Let's get into this third act, because it's just...
Third act.
Beautiful.
The divisive one. Oh, it's like, again, like, I wasn't the big... I think I preferred the other two acts. I didn't dislike this act. I just thought it was...
It's very different.
It's very different. And I thought, I just didn't like how they brought in a monster MacGuffin to be the villain who we've never heard of before. Has the worst name. I think he's literally called, like, the Soul Eater or something like that. Like, it's just really stupid. And I didn't take it seriously at all when he was introduced, because this was just like... the villain out of nowhere. It was a big CGI monster that I didn't give a shit about, and I hated that. I hated how this excellent kung fu movie ended with like big CGI monster.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree, but like I kind of said earlier, like it's transitioning from more close combat martial arts to more kind of like on the bus, and then you've got like the fight arena, and then you've got it's kind of growing, and it just builds this big spectacle. And I kind of appreciate it from that sense, because like if you looked at some of the there was some movie that came out in China recently, but it was like a big it's like Bahubali-esque. I can't remember the name of it, and I feel like this is trying to maybe honor that a bit as well, because it's got like what is considered like the Chinese interpretation of a dragon, rather than something like more Game of Thrones-esque. So I kind of liked that, and I liked the big scale, and it reminded me very much of what The Great Wall could have been when starring Matt Damon. So
God, that movie, why did you bring it up?
So I appreciate it in that sense, and I was exactly the same. I thought the movie should have ended with a fight between Shang Chi and Wenwu, but it's like I was like, oh wait, and then she's like, let me show you this wooden carving of this new character we'll introduce, and I didn't appreciate it, but I feel like there's a reason why they bring that up, because it ties into another movie they're going to be coming out with, I think.
Is it going to be a multiverse thing? Because
I feel like it's Eternals.
Eternals, yeah. Because I remember I googled it after. It's just like, what the fuck is this thing? And he's like one of the interdimensional beings that he's like one of the big interdimensional like monsters essentially that like feeds on souls. And I just thought he came out of nowhere was my base part. I know he was like hinted at throughout the movie. I suppose for listeners, the big reason that Wenwu thinks his wife is trapped behind this gate in this village is because he hears a voice in his head. And it turns out that this Soul Eater thing is the voice in his head, and it's
the Dweller in Darkness is what I'm reading it as.
Dweller in Darkness is the voice in the head trying to get them like manipulate people into breaking it out of its jail, because it invaded like thousands and thousands of years ago, and this other sort of existence, or like this other dimension, I suppose.
I think it's like Asgard.
Yeah, essentially,
plane or whatever.
But they used to have like a super advanced civilization and really good, but then these Soul Eaters invaded and like nearly wiped them out. But then from the help of the dragon, spoilers, there's a dragon, and
a fucking class dragon.
Very cool dragon. It did way more than I thought it would do.
Yeah. Because there's this whole dragon under the body of water, and it comes out. It's called the Great Protector. It's supposed to be Fin Fang Foom, I think, the big dragon from the Marvel comics. But I thought he was just going to come out and like help for a bit and then fuck off.
Yeah.
But he's very much a character, and it's a spectacle, and that's why I forgave it, because it just looks beautiful.
That's why I said there was so many times in this like third arc that I was just like, holy fuck, this looks so good. Like that's why I think I don't mind the arc that much, or I keep on saying arc. The act so much. It was so cool to just watch and see it on the big screen. Like some of the set pieces were absolutely fantastic.
And I think that's what it kind of benefited from being delayed so much, because they probably had more time to do the special effects. Yeah. Because the special effects are phenomenal. Like it's very challenging to do a big dragon versus a big dark dweller. I don't know. Big glooberty glop. Big glooberty glop, and then the dragon fighting each other, and the swirling of the water, and then the glooberty glop is sending out little bats to like take people's souls and then feed the Soul Eater. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
And
But the
And it gets
gloobly,
more powerful.
yeah,
The gloopy glop, yeah.
and the gloobly glop is obviously released by Wenwu because Wenwu does show up to the village, and like there is this cool like standoff between like the village who have like the dragon scale weapons and like the other guys with the like tasers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's been this old guy who's been like helping Aquafina out. Well, not really helping Aquafina out, being like the old harsh mentor to Aquafina and like her archery and stuff like that. And so that's sort of been going on, and like he's just like, oh, it's like, go away, young man, and things like that. And then like when we was just like, excuse you, like I am ancient.
Yeah.
He says a really like, I don't know, it's like a lame enough line. It's like a very forgettable line in the English version, but like what I read later is like in the Mandarin version in like direct Chinese, they changed what he said because it doesn't translate well to the Western.
Oh, right.
But like the original line in the like Mandarin is like essentially like, I've ate more grains of rice than you've had salt.
Oh, that's really good. I like that.
which I think is a fucking badass.
That's more poetic for
Yeah,
sure.
way better.
Just speaking of the armor that you mentioned there, I like that the MCU now have a new material, dragon scales, because they've everything's made out of vibranium or Stark tech, and now they've got dragon scales.
Yeah, I love it. It's like it's like Monster Hunter, where you just sort of like go like kill a new enemy and like make armor from it. So like
Yeah.
but,
So I like that, and like that was cool to just introduce that new element into the Marvel universe, and like it gives Shang Chi and Xiaolin, Xiaolin their new outfits as well, which look kind of shit in my opinion, but
I think
like
they'll fine enough.
they're very comic accurate,
it's
which is
but and then in this final act as well, we also had like the 1v1, like Wenwu versus.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it's so good. Like it started off like just Wenwu getting his ass, not Wenwu getting his ass kicked, sorry, Shang-Chi getting his ass kicked, and it quickly, like, especially when like they sort of get over to the other side of the lake when Wenwu's breaking him out, and Shang-Chi realizes that he can use the rings as well.
Yeah, because his mom like subconsciously taught him weird wavy hand movements because she was a wavy hand mover and so was her sister, and then his dad's very punchy, so Shang-Chi is the ultimate punchy wavy hand person. So he can, I think that's the exact title. I tell you, I wrote this script. Remember when I mentioned that Hotel California thing earlier? I wrote the script. Wavy hands, punchy punch. Coming to a cinema near you.
But like that fight scene was incredible. Like it was so good. I think that's when they really started using the rings a lot more creatively, as in like footholds and like hand holes and things like that, and it was done so well.
And like what was great about it was it wasn't something like, so I'm comparing origin stories here. So like what are our MCU origin stories? We've got Iron Man, which I'm going to exclude because that's just very good. Thor, Incredible Hulk, Captain America, what else? Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. Let's throw Black Panther and Captain Marvel. All of it, like most of them, hey, it's a villain who has the same powers as you do. Yeah. But it's there's just so much more heart in this one, and there's so much weight to the fight when you compare it. It's like, what was Jude Law harping on about again in Captain Marvel? I don't remember. What was Christopher Eccleston being like in Thor: The Dark World? What was his deal? Like, you don't, like, it was so, you didn't care how the fight ended up, and it was just like this, you just felt every punch, you just could feel like the struggle. I was so good. Yeah,
no, definitely like Shang-Chi did a great job, like, as well, just like acting like what his character was going through, just like is he his dad's son being trained, or like being this trained killer, and turns out he was the killer, and or like should he be more like, and him wanting to be more like his mum, who is more compassionate, and so it's his internal struggle then to find like the balance between the two, which it is a Marvel movie, spoilers, he finds the balance.
And it's like, and it's funny because like the Mandarin or Wenwu is always like, oh, I'm not giving these rings away until you fucking earn them, and then it's great to see he's like, oh, you've earned them. Yeah, I'm going to go die now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my soul sucked. Like, I love as well, like, he gets grabbed and it's just like, well, that's it then. Like, there's no, like,
I don't got those rings. I'm known for one thing, and it's having those rings.
Yeah, and so he just like lets his soul get sucked. And
I'm telling you, if I liked my soul, I would have put a ring on it, let alone 10, and then kept alive.
You know what they say, if you liked it, you should have put a ring on it. Like, that's it. which I feel
all
like
the Talar Wars, all the Talar Wars, all the Talar Wars. So put the spears up. There's a song there somewhere.
shoot the arrow. Oh, oh, oh.
There you go. Oh, speaking of arrows, Aquafina kills like the dragon at the end, or kills the.
Doesn't kill it, but like, you know, like
but,
severely
like,
injures it. Like,
what the fuck did Darcy ever do? I'm gonna compare
total
Darcy.
witty jokes.
I think maybe it's from WandaVision.
Yeah.
But like,
no, she was great. Yeah, it was great. It was great to see like this was a character like throughout the movie that has been like struggling with a purpose in life and shown to be.
Gets one.
Yeah, she gets one, and yeah, because I remember there was just the sweet old woman from the village. She was just like, "Here, look, if you never try for anything, you never get anything." So
yeah, it's like if you don't shoot for anything, you don't hit anything.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
So
don't aim for anything, you hit anything.
it was good to bring the archery into it that way, which I thought was nice.
Yeah. And I thought that and then the fact that she's kind of hinted at that she's sticking around with Shang-Chi.
Of course, watch out, Hawkeye.
Watch out. Yeah.
We're gonna have 3 people in this fucking universe who are good with bows.
If you never watched the Arrow universe, 50% of the world's population can use a bow in that. But yeah, so speaking of the future then as well, because like this like we mentioned it hints at a lot going forward.
Yeah.
One being that the rings are kind of summoning something. It's one of the post-credit scenes we see like Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel looking at the rings, trying to decipher that it's, you know, it's not vibranium, it's not Chitauri tech, it's not alien, it's something more ancient, and it's calling something. There's a beacon.
Yeah, that's it. Was a cool, like, again, like it was sort of like, it's good because they end the movie sort of with a good mirror of at the start of the movie where they're out on a double date, or like a double date with some friends who are like all
such a good joke.
Responsible and grown up, and it's just like, how are you still like chauffeurs essentially? And it's just like, and then at the end of the movie it's just like, well, I saved the world, fuck you.
And then I shot the dragon with a spear, and then Shang-Chi used the 10 rings that he got off his dad and was able to do the wavy hand thing. And then,
actually, like speaking of like the wavy hand thing, like literally speaking of the wavy hand thing, when he's doing the whole, just as another shout out to Kung Fu Hustle, when he's doing the whole like descending from the clouds thing and doing on his hand movements, that is the end scene. Like that's the end fight from Kung Fu Hustle, because like there's like the hand of palm or something like that, or the palm of bow is like the final move used in that, and it's literally the guy descending from the sky like doing it, and it's just like, God, this movie has so many great shout outs.
And it's such, and just like that, just I forgot that scene. It's just so beautiful, and there's so many bits where I feel like you could just screenshot, and it'd be a background, like especially in that Talo section of the movie. It's just majestic. But like you compare that to like Black Panther, where it's 2 guys in black suits fighting in a dark cut tunnel, and you're just like, this looks shit.
It would look shit if I could see it.
Yeah. One of them's winning. I think it's the purple one.
Yeah. Oh God, I hated that fight scene. I hate when Marvel do that. It's just, I know it's just to save money, but it just, why spend all this money on a movie to have a climactic ending fight scene that you can't fucking see? It makes no sense.
But speaking of that end credit scene actually as well, and the people that are, you know, working on it, and trying to decipher what the 10 rings are, where they're from. One of them is Bruce Banner, who is no longer Professor Hulk.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah. Yeah,
so he's in the sling obviously because he did the snap, and because rumor has it he's showing up in the She-Hulk show, and I heard something that he might be in Moon Knight as well, but it's very expensive to have Professor Hulk, so I imagine if they're putting him on Disney Plus, it's cheaper to have him as Mark Ruffalo than the CGI Hulk hybrid. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And then obviously there's that great scene with the karaoke scene with Wong, who I feel like is a barrel of laughs. I like Wong.
He seems to just be very correct, because even at the end, it's like not at the end, but like during the movie, it's like this whole fight with what's his face again?
Abomination.
Abomination was just like, it was fixed,
staged.
It was a fixed fight, and then they go through a portal at the end, and someone was saying that it could be the raft they're going back to.
Yes, it looked like that. I was trying to get. I see he might be on Thunderbolts or something like that. Or
I think that could be a small like thing to the Thunderbolts, because they've been slowly sort of setting that up, so that would make sense.
That's actually the only interesting thing about Black Widow, the future, is that that's hinted at, but it's kind of.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, don't worry about it. But I did feel like Wong was a bit out of place in this. I feel like he was just very much like, why is he here?
I think Wong is going to have a bigger role. I think going from Doctor Strange and everything like that. I think like he's just been making more appearances as like he's a bit of a badass, but like he's always going on holiday or doing something goofy.
Or do you want to know something? I just think he's a very easy actor to get. I feel like he doesn't do it. Not in a bad way, but generally like he's an easy actor. He doesn't work a lot.
That he has like classic, I can go anywhere I want and it be explained by my magic portal.
Yeah, and it's exactly, and it's very much just like His character's not really tied into any big story arc, so it's very easy to have him just show up.
Yeah.
And then the last credit scene, we'll just briefly go through as well. We see that Shang Chi had kind of said like, "Oh, my sister's helping take down my dad's empire," but turns out she's doing the literal opposite of that.
She's opening up to women.
Yes, yeah, which I thought was kind of cool because I was getting worried that it was just going to be exclusively women, and then I was like, "Is this just another Dora Milaje?" kind of, because I know they're looking at a Dora Milaje show for Disney Plus, and I was like, "Oh, are we really gonna have these two, like shows with kind of female warriors stuff?" But then you could see that there was like, it's men and women in it, and she's kind of rebranding the Ten Rings, and at the end it kind of says the Ten Rings will return, and I'm a bit like you, where I don't know if we discussed this before, but I don't want it to be on Disney Plus. I want it to be part of the fucking movies because because she's a badass character. It's a very interesting arc, and I'm yet to see these smaller stories be told successfully on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think my biggest fear about the next set of the MCU movies. Why can I not say that? MCU movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think I'm most afraid for them, like just putting too much like focus on advertising TV shows that will be coming out.
Yeah.
You know, like how, I don't know if you saw like Titans, like the TV show, and like Titans just did a lot of like, we're doing this TV show, and like a whole episode was literally a spin-off of another TV show that they're going to be doing. And just like, make your show, stop fucking putting everything else into your thing. Like, just make your thing and let things come from it if you want. Like, I don't want to like this advertisement essentially forced down my throat while watching the movie.
Yeah, and that's what I felt like this last scene kind of was. But I'm hopeful that it's just that it is something maybe to tie into Shang-Chi too. Like, and I guess like, that's my biggest thing with this. I'm excited to see this character interact now that he's got these powers. How he interacts with those superheroes. Yeah,
that's actually
where is he going to slot into?
Yeah, that's not something we talked about. Like, he went from like, I think that was actually a great like escalation of the fights in the movie. Like, he went from bus fight, which was like a small enough fight against like some people, to like big scale fight that you were like, okay, this guy's really good. Like, he can take on a lot of people. To like beating like a dimensional entity fight, and it's just like, okay, this guy's very strong when he has the 10 rings. Like he went from like not even like Captain America sort of like level to like Thor level, in a movie.
Yeah, it's mad, and like that's I cannot wait to see where it goes from there. So I've got some just quick facts to end on, and then I have a question for you. So 3 quick triple quick facts. One would be Tony Leung. This is his first English speaking role in movies. There was another actor who was meant to be playing, or who was considered for the role of Wenwu, that you would probably know, called Donnie Yen. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting, yeah.
And then the last thing was, it's not less of a fact, just more what the director had to say on Shang-Chi as a character, which was that he very much compared him to the character from Will from Good Will Hunting. I don't know if you've seen that, have you?
I have, yeah, of course.
So it's kind of like all to do with it's a
mix.
When you
did the podcast, I nearly cried just thinking about it.
It's tough, all right? Robin Williams is a treasure. But it's very much like, so you compare it to the character from Good Will Hunting because it's a mixture of like masculinity and vulnerability, noting that the two characters kind of have these secrets and superpowers that are kind of, that they don't understand yet. And he describes this film as like a journey into stepping into who Shang-Chi is and what he's meant to be in this world, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. Yeah, like again, it was a great movie. Like, absolutely fantastic movie.
Okay, righto. Before we go, so we've done a lot of, your movies have been very actiony based. So what I've decided to do is, it's set in the above ground fighting arena. It's a tournament. And in it, we have all the major characters from the podcasts you've done so far. So we're talking Shang-Chi. We're talking the guys from Big Trouble Little China. Both the flippy guy, the coke nail guy, and then the 3 storms.
The 3 musketeers.
I'm talking Superman from Justice League. No, weird upper lip Superman from the Justice League.
Important distinction.
And finally, then Daniel Craig in a nice, Southern accent drawl character as Benoit Blanc, and then Bahubali. So it's Bahubali, Daniel Craig, the guys from Big Trouble Little China, the Justice League folk, and then Shang-Chi, who's winning this tournament.
That's a fucking class question. Does Shang-Chi have the 10 rings?
Let's say no. Let's make
okay, yeah, I think it makes it more interesting if he doesn't. Oh, who wins this? I'm gonna go with Big Trouble in Little China trio, honestly.
The trio, really?
This trio, yeah, because I feel like
No.
a lot of them will
They
like.
died the easiest out of anyone on this list.
I feel like since they all explode, they're bound to take someone else out with them in this tiny arena.
Okay, but it's like a tournament, so it's like a lot of 1v1s.
Oh, okay, so it's not like fucking like King of the Hill.
It's not like a battle royale. Or anything.
Okay. Oh, okay, 1v1. Oh, it has to be. I'm gonna have to say it's gonna have to be Bahubali. Like
Bahubali,
yeah, it's gonna have to be Bahubali. Like
Bahubali or Bahubali Tubali.
Yeah, no, Bahubali Tubali. I think it's like they rotate out. It's like a twin situation.
Tag teams. I'm changing it now altogether.
Yes.
So it's Shang Chi and his sister.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Bahubali and
Bahubali Tubali.
Yes. We've got a triple threat in the storms from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
You've got
Kurt Russell and younger.
Oh yeah, we'll do Kurt Russell, Flippy Dude, and the old man with magic.
Yeah.
Then also the Justice League, but it's gonna be weird upper lip Henry Cavill. It's gonna be Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and it's gonna be the poor interpretation of Batman in that movie as well. And then from I've added 3. Actually, let me change that. How about this? It's going to be Superman and Lois. It's going to be weird upper lip Henry Cavill and the
Lois.
Thirstiest woman, Aunt May, or the Superman's aunt, never known, in Lois.
Okay.
And then for Knives Out, it's going to be a tag team of Daniel Craig and knitted sweater Chris Evans.
Oh, I really like that one. Yeah, I still think I'm going to go with Bahubali and Bahubali Tubali.
I think Bahubali, yeah.
Yeah, because like even like the Superman, I feel like they just wear him down. Like do that whole like the rope dance.
Oh yes. Although I love if the first lineup is it's Henry Cavill or Superman and Lois versus Benoit Blanc and Ransom. Benoit's just trying to be like, can I interest you in some pastries?
And like every time Ransom goes for the kill shot, it's a fake knife. She's like,
it's a fake knife. Shit. Right, so that was a tangent that I just thought I
want that. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'd love to see that celebrity death match. Yeah.
But yeah, anything else to kind of sign off on for Shang-Chi?
No, like honestly, I think this is a great movie. I think what I'm gonna do now after this podcast is over is I'm gonna watch Kung Fu Hustle because all I've done is think about how great that movie is for this entire 1 hour podcast.
Hey, there's nothing. I thought you were gonna say the movie. I was like, a sign of a good movie is one that just makes you want to watch another movie.
Oh yeah, like I think I've been craving watching it for a while, and then I just go see Shang-Chi, and there's so many like references to that movie, and so I'm just like, fuck, I have to watch this movie again.
Absolutely, I have to check it out as well. Actually, I have seen it before, but it was years ago, so I'll probably have to check it out again.
What is it actually? It's one of Bill Murray's favorite comedy movies.
Oh yes, I remember reading that somewhere. Bill Murray, great guy,
stand-up guy.
Would
do badly in a death match with Superman.
Oh no, I could go on for hours with this whole death match thing if I allowed. Oh no, it's Superman versus Bill Murray, but it's from Groundhog Day, and he just keeps coming back to life.
so it's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's pretty much like,
Superman, I'm here to bargain.
I'm here to bargain. Do you want to know what the groundhog saw today? Anyways, right. Oh,
yeah. Sorry.
Thanks for coming back and doing this. It was great crack.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's weird doing this from 2 different households.
It is. It's great. I don't have to be there for tech support anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to delete this file so fast.
No, please. But I also want to say not only thanks to you, but thanks to anyone who's listened to this or any other podcast. If you want to keep up to date in the podcast, you can follow @Reading in the Piers on Instagram. You can follow on Spotify, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. I think that's it. Again, thanks very much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed.